Hi, I'm just wanting to take this opportunity to share my experience with the coronavirus. I know that there is fear mongering in the media, and the facts don't get reported accurately. And we are in uncertain times, and fear can be a major factor in our daily lives. Anxiety sets in, and fear can have a negative impact on our immune system. And so, telling my story, I hope it can help anyone who feels scared or worried about having the coronavirus. It does affect everybody differently. For me, it wasn't too bad at all, actually. If anything, we had very little symptoms. So I'm just going to start out with the first day that my husband, June 24th was the last day that he worked with this coworker that on the 28th had tested positive, June 28th. On that day, I contacted everybody that I had been around to let them know this is the situation, and I felt really bad. I felt horrible. And I definitely was mostly concerned about the older ones that I had been around, because we all know that they are more susceptible to getting it bad and having, life or death situations. But anyways, my husband started feeling different on the 28th. He started showing his symptoms. And I was thinking, there's no way that you have coronavirus. It's all in your head, because sometimes our minds are very powerful, and so we could definitely create this thought that something is what it is and literally get real symptoms from it. And so he had body chills, achy. He felt, it was definitely a very long night. It just kind of hit us, and I was just like, whoa, I can't believe this is really us. Anyways, on June 29th, actually the 28th, when we found out that his coworker had tested positive for the COVID-19, we called the coronavirus hotline, and when we talked to the lady, she had suggested that we wait because he wanted to go right then. We both wanted him to go right then and get tested, and she suggested that we wait until next Wednesday. That way, I guess it gives it time to make sure that we get a positive instead of like a negative positive. And so, like I said, it was a very, very long night, and by morning time, my husband just couldn't deal with it anymore. He just went up, and he had to get tested that day. So we figured, what was 2 days? 2 days wasn't really going to make that much of a difference. But he decided to go through IHC, which, in fact, it took 4 days to get his test results back, and a lot of the other people that had contracted it at his work had mentioned that, they were getting it within 24, 48 hours, and so we had to wait 4 days to get his test results back. So on July 1st, that was the morning that I had woke up, and at midday probably, I started sneezing just out of nowhere, and I continued to sneeze for a good hour, and then my nose started to become runny. It was super runny, and I thought, what the heck is this? I looked it up and found that sometimes people can mistaken the coronavirus for allergies, and so when I looked it up, it said if you take some allergy meds and it goes away, then that's definitely a good possibility that's just allergies. So I did that, and it went away. But then on July 2nd, my husband's test results came back, and he was positive. So that same day, I also woke up with a mild cough. Not too bad, but just like a regular sick cough. And I literally probably coughed the most 3 times a day, if that. So when his test came back positive, me and my girls decided to go on the 3rd and get tested. And we decided to go to the U of U out in Daybreak, which is in Utah, South Jordan area. And we definitely got our results back in 48 hours. So when we went there, it wasn't too bad. It's a little uncomfortable. They stick a Q-tip type ordeal in your nose pretty far back, and it almost feels kind of like when you get water in your nose when you're going swimming, and it was just really brief, so it wasn't too bad to bear. And so we just all continued to, well, first when my husband had it, me and my girls decided to separate ourselves and let him have his own bathroom and stay upstairs. We stayed downstairs. And he started his quarantine, of course, and made sure he wore a mask when he was awake. He was very tired. It took a lot out of him. And then July 4th came along, and I woke up with no scent or smell. And so on July 5th, we got our tests back, and it said that we were positive. But I will be honest with you, the beginning of all of this, when we would go into the stores and people would be wearing masks, it's like, they're letting the government control them, and they're being fear-mongered, and it's just ridiculous, and I'm not worried about it. I actually, to be honest, thought it was a whole bunch of horse shit. But I can say that I feel like the mask does help. It helps at least to protect others from yourself, if anything. I would wear a mask to protect everybody else around me, not knowing, with this being such a new virus, not knowing a lot about it, and if I can spread and when I can spread. And I think that there's only like a small window where you can, you're contagious and can give it to others. But when and actually I failed to mention that when me and both my girls went to go get tested, my oldest daughter, which is 10, actually tested negative, which I thought was really strange because we had been around her. Me and my youngest that tested positive had been around her, and she tested negative. So we just, stayed at home and self-isolated ourselves from each other as much as we could. I mean, it's really hard when you have young kids because you still have to take care of them, for the most part. But we just made sure that we washed our hands. We made sure that we cleaned all the surfaces, where there's a lot of heavy traffic, doorknobs. We aired out our house, things of that nature. And so this whole time, my daughters never showed symptoms, though. So they were asymptomatic, is what they are calling it, and so they never showed signs, no symptoms, nothing at all. Mine was loss of smell and a slight cough and loss of taste. My husband pretty much had the same thing. And so it wasn't really too bad. So a lot of people get really scared, like, oh, am I going to die? And unless you're having difficulty breathing, or you have a temperature or chest pains, then that's when it gets a little to be more serious. And I will say that when my husband first felt symptoms on the 28th of June, we would take his temperature and it would come out as 94, which I thought was really strange too. And they do say that usually there is a viral infection if you have a temperature that's lower than normal. And so I continued from June 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th to still have no scent or smell. And there's just not enough info to know if someone can contract it again and then give it back to you. And so the Department of Health had called us and took our case and just kind of ran down everything to us and told us exactly what we needed to do. And because we were positive that my husband would have to quarantine for 10 days from the day he started having symptoms. And then because my daughters didn't have any symptoms, they had them start on the day that their test came back positive. And so that would have meant that my husband would have been in the clear on the 8th of July, me the 11th, and my girls the 13th. And of course, because they don't know if you can get it again at this point, they do say that they want you to at least have 3 days of no symptoms before going back to work. So really, we would all just be on the 13th. She also mentioned to us as well that because my daughter's test was negative, there wouldn't be any point in getting her tested again, and or us, just to make sure that we no longer have it, because there are dead blood cells that stick around for at least 2 months. So your test results would come back positive anyway. And so it can be really worrisome. I feel like, we're infected. We can't go anywhere. We can't. How are we going to know when we're not infected? How are we going to know if we're spreading it? But just, being careful, and, I would prefer to wear a mask now just because that makes me feel like I'm protecting others from myself. And just keep washing your hands and just try to keep everything sanitized as much as possible. You want to get a lot of rest and hydrate. Your immune system, like I said before, can really be affected by fear and things of that nature. And so somebody that has a good immune system, that exercises and is for the most part healthy, is going to have a less chance of getting it. And I watched a doctor today online, and he had mentioned that he doesn't really feel like masks do much. It'd be like in comparison to putting up a chain link fence and hoping that mosquitoes don't fly through it. Because after you've worn your mask for so long, it starts to get wet. And so it's not really doing much. But I feel like it could help with the droplets. That is usually how, you pass it on to somebody else. And the main thing that I really want to stress is that the kids need to go back to school, and he and the president and the teachers, the school systems, they want the children to go back to school as well, because of the fact that they will not be carriers to then pass it on to an adult. More the chance of a teacher spreading it is highly unlikely. They just want to keep their distances and not, do the hugs and whatnot with the students. And I think that, I agree. I feel like the kids it's doing more damage for the kids to stay home, because there's so much more crime going on, and obesity, and, the lack thereof. The kids need to get back into school and have their social time is good for them. And so I'm really hoping that they are going to open the schools up and get the kids back into school. So I just wanted to end this on the notion that I hope this could give somebody comfort if they're dealing with COVID-19, and not to worry if you don't show signs. It's a good thing. Symptoms, I mean, it's a good thing. And just to be patient and know that you're not alone. We found different things to do here at our house to keep us busy so that we didn't go crazy. And my kids definitely want to get back to school. So I feel very blessed to have had symptoms not so bad, and hopefully this isn't something that sticks around forever. I have never had the flu, so I don't know what having the flu would be like, but this was just like a regular cold. If anything, probably the least worst of any colds I've ever had. So just make sure that you are keeping your distances, and if you're not aware of somebody that's infected, you know, and you do show symptoms, just go get tested. You have to order the test, and the wait was not bad at all, and that way you know where you stand and you don't infect others. So God bless, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.